Welcome to the Love, Sex, and Leadership podcast, where you can discover simple tantric teachings to embody your true power, awaken your soul's wisdom, and live an inspired life as a natural, intuitive, and heart-centered leader. Just take the fingertips for a moment and just tap ever so gently on your heart, in that heart space, letting out some sound. Oh, oh. To know that you're here as love, deepening into love, remembering yourself in the form of love. Oh, and everything that's happened to you, it's fair enough. It's all been part of your journey to be here now. To be here now with this chord of openness, this expanded part of your being that opens into the deeper levels and states of what love can feel like inside of you. So breathing in, one more sound. As you're ready, just opening your eyes. Take a look around to see those beings here. Each of them had their journey with love. Maybe their hearts being broken or torn or expanded. Everyone with our own experience of what love means. So I want to start this just by saying, to me, I don't think love can never go anywhere or leave somehow or somehow not be there. But the perception of it can certainly shift. Love is this omnipotent form, energy that kind of governs this universal design that we dwell inside of. And so how could something that's always there ever go? You might feel when there's the associated energetic cords to an individual that you have the representation to that person, that individual represents love in my life. And if they die or if they leave, there might feel like something is gone, something has drifted away. Who's had that feeling before? Yeah. That feeling for me, one of my big journeys with self-love was feeling love leaving me and leaving me in a puddle of my own tears on a hotel floor in Egypt. I felt like love had gone. Love was gone. It was in the form of a woman in my life. But then in that moment, when some part of my psyche thought that love was gone, a different form of love, a different form of self-identity appeared more deeply than I'd ever felt love before. And that was in the form of my own inner feminine, coming back to me from what felt like I had never known before. So what that was then a deepening into inner union and outside of my infatuation with the love that was existing in female partners in my life. And I thought I was really good at that. And I was good at that. But my association to love was in loving her. And if in loving her, if that would go away and I felt like I had done something wrong and love would leave, it would leave me feeling empty and like I had done. I was in this kind of shameful depression. Who knows what I'm talking about? Oh my God, I poured all this love into this human and now they've left. What does that make of me? And that's what was the stories and the things running in my brain. So in that moment, Spirit, God, something washed over into me and I turned my focus off of always the external and I began to actually understand, not just intellectually, but on an embodied level, the importance of this inner union as a representation of the most important relationship I could have. And as a result of that deepening outside of just my concept of it, but an internalization of it, I spent the next several years with women in my life, but my intention was each lover or partner coming into my life, if they weren't helping me get to know my own inner union more, then I didn't want them to deepen. I might have a beautiful encounter or an experience, but that was the intention I was holding. And then it was about probably around 3 years after that that Chantel came in my life, and both of us in a place of holding inside of our own being a deep commitment to inner union. She, after being in and out of a marriage for over 4 years and just recognizing her own breaking point, and me being on that, we really coalesced and met in this place of, you're in your inner union, I'm in my inner union. Let's play from this place. And it was a totally different framework of relationship that I've ever been in. And we could notice when some of the romantic Hollywood tendencies would come up. Oh my God, you're my everything. But then it was like, no, this is a journey back into inner union. And that was the first time I'd ever been in a relationship where I could feel that there was the gateway of opening into a three-way with the divine. The two whole beings knowing themselves, meeting each other in interdependency rather than codependency. And a lot of what happens in the romantic form of love is I need you to complete me so that I feel good about myself. And this is a lot of what we've been sold and informed about what romantic love is supposed to be. And of course, it's great to have your needs met by your partner and to feel fulfilled and to open new gateways of connection that wouldn't normally be possible inside of your own inner union. That's the gift of relating. But if you don't know yourself as whole, then any time that person's having a bad day or doing something that you don't think is right, and then you start to take it personally, then you just start to create this cycle of codependency. And generally that doesn't work out so well. People end up transitioning from this, new relationship energy, which happens maybe for the first couple months or year or couple years, and then stop making love and then running family, and then they're just sleeping next to each other instead of actually deepening in the place of romantic love. They're just like two best friends that sleep next to each other. Who's ever been in anything like that? And you're like, I want to leave, but I have X, A, B, C, D, E, F, G that's with this person. So if I left, then all these other things would need to change. So instead of actually making a commitment to yourself, you're making a commitment to everything else around you in the fear of love leaving. But how does love ever leave? Love can't go anywhere. Let's go back to where we started. It's just an omnipotent force that's all around us. But the association to what you deem as love, you start to make decisions in fear of that love leaving, which then just cycles the codependency wheel more and more and more and more. And then you're not actually two whole beings. You're needing each other to complete each other. And then we're back to Jerry Maguire. You complete me. Oh yeah, because I don't actually know what I am to be whole without you. And there's a beauty to that. There's a beauty to when we can have a connection with another. But when that codependency of the mind and the heart and the emotions is so intertwined, and two people don't know each other as independent forces in the world, then it generally turns to unhealthy conditions. And then what often happens is instead of actually taking responsibility for the upset that's happening in relationship, there's a pointing a finger in, this relationship is failing because of you. Let me leave you and recreate this with somebody else. And then we go through divorce after divorce after divorce after divorce because people aren't actually willing to meet themselves wholly in a relationship. The beautiful thing about relationship is that there's a lot of people on this planet, a lot, billions of people on this planet. And somehow, through all of this wild, interconnected form, you've happened to meet this individual. Hi, hi. That is here to show you and to support you, to help you remember what love is. But just as we've done over the last couple of days, sometimes it doesn't always feel good. Fuck, that you hurt. This is painful. But if we're running away from that pain and blaming that pain on that individual who happened to miraculously come into your life out of the 1 billion chance of it being them, rather than saying, ooh, this feels uncomfortable, let me push you away so that I don't have to feel this, let me just recreate this pattern with someone else, usually parental patterns that are being repeated, attracting the form of your mother in your partner or attracting the form of your father in your partner who's done this before. And you're like, oh my God. Quick story. I was living in Singapore years ago. I was out on a second date with a woman. There was chemistry. She was a yoga teacher. She had a studio. I was teaching yoga. It was yummy. It was juicy. It was sexy. And then I said, well, what's your birthday? And she's like, I think it was July 11th. And then I was like, the last 3 partners I have been in have all been circulating around my mother's birthday, July 12th. Maybe it's time to have a pattern interrupt. So I looked at her, and I remember we were in the cafe, and I said, thank you. You're an amazing woman. I really get the essence of where this relationship is going to go, and I'm just going to leave now. She was like, what? When you're leaving? I'm like, your answer just gave me a lot of answers of where this is going. She's like, okay, you're a little weird, but all right. And I left. And from that moment of having that pattern interrupt, I've never attracted another woman with the same birthday as my mother. Yay, universe, break the pattern. So this is where we have changes in our trajectory that shifts the normalcy. And why was I doing that? Because there was a level of comfort and ease and habitual knowing of what I deemed love should look like based upon the image that I received from my mother. It's a very Freudian place that happens in our development. So that's just one example, but it's recognizing that you've attracted this partner, this individual, to teach you, to show you, to represent all of the things inside of you that maybe you haven't learned to love, honor, and appreciate. Let's take a breath. So rather than running away from them, can we lean into them? But don't lean into them to create a perpetual pain of staying in a relationship too long because you think you're going to keep growing. Oh, I just need to stay a little bit longer because my therapist told me to. I got to stay a little bit longer, but they're literally punching me in the face. I was sharing a story with the guys the other day, a relationship pattern I was in when I learned how to be Shiva. I'm going to be the light masculine archetype of tell me all your problems, give me all your issues. I am going to have no capacity to penetrate you. I'm just going to be there to witness it all. I was then in that relationship showing up into our couple sessions with black eyes because I was the one holding and I was trying to be the good space holder. Well, guess what? Space has been doing a great job of holding itself for a long time. So any of you who are identified as a space holder, I need to be a space holder for my partner, just let space do it. Does it a little better. You can do that when you need to, And you know it's a necessity in the dynamics that are present, but when your ego identifies to it, red flag, deepen, surrender, recognize what's there. Deep breath in. Ah. Just roll back the shoulders a bit. Knees and probably getting a little bit sore. We're now halfway through. Halfway through. Woo-hoo. And relationships are a journey. They're a journey. And we tell you when we go into comparison about relationships and see this ideal couple, maybe these guys or those who see me, Shiva. And yet the journey to get there, as Alex told you some of his stories and I've told you some of mine, is one of when you find yourself attracted to someone and you follow that, then your souls have come together for a reason in that moment in time. Doesn't mean it has to be forever. No. And we have such a strong collective story, thank you, Hollywood, around finding the one that I find for myself. It keeps blocking me actually for being open to the mystery of being with, let's not call it the one, but someone who you're in full resonance with, that your animals turned on by, that your heart feels safe with, and loved and cherished and appreciated and trusted by them, and that your consciousnesses are aligned as well, as if you have the same value system. You want the same things in life. You're heading on the same trajectory or purpose, as David said. And just know that if you are in or find yourself in a relationship that isn't that, that is part of the process, that is part of the learning. You haven't fucked it up. You're just on the next part of your soul's expansion, having the experiences that you need to in order to remember who you are and what you're worth and actually what you want. And in relationships, very rarely do I see couples separating because they don't love each other. They separate because there's a fundamental non-compatibility. And we'll be going into compatibility a bit, maybe now. And it's this, I wish I knew this when I started dating. That we have these three centers. We have our sexual body, we have our heart space, and then we have our consciousness. And if one of those things is not aligned, the relationship is not going to be harmonious and propel along the same trajectory together. And in many cases, if there is discrepancies in one or more of those centers, they can also be worked through. Right? That's, as practitioners, what we all do in couple sessions. The first session we actually do with a couple is a compatibility session, animal heart consciousness. And sessions are usually 90 minutes, and they take me at least 3, if not around 4 hours every time. And they're my favorite session to do because even couples who have been together for decades haven't felt the truth and been able to access it, let alone communicate it to their partner about what they're really needing in the bedroom, what they're really needing out of the bedroom, in their communication and feeling loved and appreciated, and haven't really got clear on, are we really heading in the same direction? Like, I want to live in Bali. I want to live in Ibiza. I want a child. I don't want a child. There's some big soul kind of contracts that we have with ourselves that just may not be compatible. And so when you can start to
keep your heart open to yourself by loving yourself, by not abandoning yourself anymore, by not abandoning your emotional body anymore, guess what? You get to see as the relationship's progressing whether it's compatible or not. Rather than in 5 months, 10 months, 5 years' time going, oh, this isn't going to work. I want something completely different in the bedroom, or the way that you relate really doesn't work for me. And that's what I did in all of my relationships. Really, I've had 2 marriages. And after my second marriage ended 5 years ago, I've been in, I think it's 5 committed relationships, one after the other. Boom, boom, boom. And I learned so much in that period of time that actually, by me not loving myself enough to feel the contractions that were happening in the relationship, 2 things happened. One, I didn't see the red flags, and there were some red flags that should have from the beginning been like, this is just never going to work. You know, need to close that down now. The other option is that I didn't feel where I was struggling in the relationship, so therefore I didn't communicate it to the man. And then 6 months later, it would come out in an argument. He's like, what? How long have you been feeling this way? So when we really commit to feeling what's happening, we actually give the relationship the best possible chance because we're giving real-time feedback rather than letting it sit and fester until there's some big trigger where it's coming not from an open heart but from fear and projection, and it does so much damage. And that's been my greatest teacher. And now I'm with a man that I feel so safe with to be myself, and it's so beautiful to be loved that way. And even if I go into a story about something, I can hold myself in that story. And then I can love myself enough to say, hey, this is what I'm needing. And for that actually to be received rather than shame. And when you can be with someone who really can hold that safety for all of you to be loved, because you're holding that for yourself, it doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It does not exist. It means that you're with someone who actually you feel safe enough that when your shadows do come up, you can work through that together and the relationship can expand. And the partners or friendships or business relationships that I've had in my life that are the most beautiful lifelong relationships are because at some stage my shit came up or their shit came up. Aaron and I have had our stuff. Sasha and I have had our stuff. We've probably had little bits of stuff. We've had a little bits of stuff, playing music together, living together, but we hold and love each other through that because we can feel that the other person's doing the inner work. And if it's just a constant bombardment because you can feel that the other person is not doing the inner work and they're just unloading, it's never going to work for you. And don't fall in love with potential. I spent years seeing the potential of these amazing men, and I'm like, I'll build them up so they can feel their worthiness. It's not your job as a man or a woman to help evolve someone else, especially if they don't want to help themselves. But in partnership or in friendship, when there's deep connection, it's our roles to feel what our truth is and communicate that. And guess what? In our communication, it may be super clunky, super awkward, half self-responsible, half projection. But you can feel when the other person is like doing their inner work and doing their best. And then if there is projection, You just hold space for that. I find it super cute when Shiva goes into projection. Well, actually, part of me finds it super cute when I can like connect to his little boy, and the other half wants to like rip his hair off. That's where my trigger goes to his rage. Let's just take a breath.
Mm.
And who is currently single? Yeah. And keep your hands up if you would like and love to be in a relationship. Okay. So we're going to explore today a bit of what holds us back, maybe, from feeling safe in a relationship. And we're going to explore also the inner dynamic in ourselves so that our vibration becomes a match for the vibration of someone who is resonant with us and compatible with us. And all I can say is it works. It takes time, but the journey is the fastest journey actually to get what we desire, whether it's abundance, whether it's a beloved, whether it's a career path to do and love the inner work yourself, and you're doing it from a place of like, I deserve this. I want to be happy. I want to be free. And I want to have a great life. So I'm going to clear everything that stands in the way of that and surround myself with people who can love and support me in that.